The topic of my lecture today is the relationship between industry and university, which is one of the most important activities of an institute like yours. It has many reasons for calling it important. You take a look at these things. I will be stressing on two important features of this relationship. One is the symbiosis, and the other one is the synergy. As we go along, you realize what these two terms, which are not commonly used, but what these two terms mean and why we call it a symbiotic synergistic relationship. Now, it is a marriage between the industry and the academic institutions which has to take place. And several efforts by the government, by the industry, in the academic institutions, still has not reached a satisfactory stage. So, there's a lot of extraneous noise. So I'm asking the question, why hasn't this relationship between them as effective as it should be? So the reason is there are many reasons, and the reason is that we need to have mutual attraction, mutual understanding, promise of long-term relationship, value, and so on. Let's go into some of these details. Typically, there's a lot of dissatisfaction mutually between the industry and the institutions. Neither has a great opinion about the other partner. I'm going through some details. The dissatisfaction of industry about the institutions, I look at three sectors: the students, the faculty members, and the overall. Please turn off your mics. And the overall system. Most of it is unhappy with the institutions because the institutions attract them. Engineering graduates graduate degree.
डॉक्टर्स को खुद भी किसी को कुछ भी हो सकता है ये क्या सोच रही हूँ ये डिलीवरीज करती है
Hello.
Please mute your mic.
Hello. Please mute your mic.
Except for my mic and
क्या होगा
everything else must be muted. Okay. So, can you please mute your mic? So, person who is talking, or don't talk. So, engineering graduates, but they are not ready to practice engineering. They are not really employable in the sense that industry wants. Students learn theory, but unrelated to the solution of industry problems.
So I'm requesting participants not to make noise. Kindly mute yourself.
इन्होंने भी अबॉर्ट करवाया है एक होता है खुद से हो गया
कुछ नहीं हो गया. You please leave the mic to me.
अभी स्टार्टिंग होगी ना.
Oh please.
Hello.
Almost half an hour.
Hello.
खुद से नहीं होता.
Sir, I think the admin can mute that candidate. I think from the admin side you can mute Josna ma'am.
तो हमारा तो ये भी केस था ना. पहले तो हम दोनों ने डिसाइड किया था कि सनी और मैंने कि हम नहीं देखेंगे वो लाइव. लेकिन डॉक्टर्स का ये कि प्रॉब्लम तो देखो तुम्हें ये ना लगे ना कि कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी और हमने ऐसा किया बाहर. मैं तेरे को भी आराम से बैठ के सुनाऊंगी यहाँ जब बैठेगी ना तो.
Online programs, and that is except for the presenter and the organizer, everybody else must keep their mics mute.
सेकंड दवाई स्ट्रॉन्ग थी जो मॉर्निंग में सुबह लेनी थी. संडे सुबह मैंने दवाई ली. उसके बाद मेरी हालत ऐसी हुई भागो. और उसके बाद यू कांट इमेजिन इसमें ये मैं पढ़ रही थी नेट में. यूट्रस आपको पूरा खाली करती है. मतलब यूट्रस खाली करती है इसका मतलब ऐसे ब्लीडिंग जो पूरे दिन में नहीं.
Yes sir, I think only the organizer can mute the mic.
हालत खराब हो गई. मैं खड़ी हुई मेरी सारी टांगे और बहुत बुरा हाल था. फिर डॉक्टर का फोन आया कि ना पोर्ट मतलब दिस इज द नॉर्मल प्रोसीजर फॉर देम. उनको पोर्ट में बिठाओ. उनका अलग से पोर्ट होता है जो वो पोर्ट के ऊपर रखते हैं. बाजाज में बैठी हूँ, उसमें इतना ब्लड और
Well,
साथ में
please mute all mics. I will unmute
मैं तो
myself.
वही रो पाया भैया। फिर उसके बाद बट टच वुड गॉड ग्रेस कि वो अपने आप बाहर आ गया, नहीं तो आप सोचो किसी चीज को आपको बाहर निकालना कितना मुश्किल होता है। तो वो सबने मुझे बोला कि भगवान ने तेरा बहुत साथ दिया कि दवाई से अपने आप आ गया बाहर। उसके बाद इनका प्रोसीजर होता है डीएनसी। डीएनसी इज कि कुछ भी अंदर ना रह गया, वो सारा निकल चेक करते हैं।
Tell me, Professor Kameshwara, when you're ready.
हाँ
Sir, actually, I am trying, sir.
Yeah.
So this.
Okay, there seems to be relatively silence.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, we are talking about the mutual dissatisfaction between the two partners. Industry is unhappy with institutions, and institutions are unhappy with industry. We say that industry is unreasonable in expecting tailor-made products, products who can directly enter the shop floor or the office and start performing. They require a little bit of inputs from the industry. As far as faculty members are concerned, industry is unhappy with institutions, several points here. I will leave them. They're all quite understandable if you read them. Similarly,
हेलो
institutions, in terms of faculty,
हाँ जी
unhappy about industry. Now, in terms of the overall system,
मैम
the
आपकी ना वॉल्यूम मतलब प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, ब्रेक हो रही है बीच में।
industry complains that institutions have no appreciation of time frames. We say that we will complete the project in
हाँ
1
जी
year, but it will take much longer than 1 year. And we are
ओके ओके सॉरी।
bureaucratic. And we say about industry that they demand shortcut methods which cannot be accommodated in the academic sector. So these are three sectors in which there is mutual dissatisfaction between the two partners. Now, I point out here that there are complementary roles for industry and the institutions because industry has strengths and resources and they have requirements and they can be matched in terms of three sectors: students, for example, the sandwich programs or the co-op programs or internships, lectures by industry professionals and so on. In terms of the faculty sector, industry has a wealth of practical knowledge and experience and they have funds for R&D. Institutional requirements, lack of awareness about industrial practices and needs, inadequate funds, and therefore there is a possibility of matching the needs and the resources available. And some of the avenues for doing this is by sponsored R&D, consultancy, short-term secondments, and lectures by industry professionals. And the overall system, industry provides direct contribution to industrial production and economic development, national development, and so on. And institutional requirements, we have lack of industrial orientation of the curriculum, and this can be provided by industry lectures and projects and so on, curriculum development, endowments, industry chairs. I am sure in your departmental academic committees and also the overall institutional academic council and the board of management and so on, you have partners from industry who can provide this kind of an orientation, which is very important. Similarly,
ठीक है सर, तो आदमी वीडियो खोल दीजिए, 3 मिनट वाले हैं, आप सफाई करवा यहाँ से पूरा वहाँ पे सफाई कर दीजिए। ठीक है, 2 आदमी कितना देर के लिए? 2 घंटे में सब 50-60 तक अलग करते हैं। ठीक है, तो वो होगा माली होगा, माली सर लोग अर्चना मैडम बस, और अर्चना सर फोन कर। ठीक है, करवा बस 2 माली चाहिए ना। ठीक,
Hello. ठीक है, मैं
there
करवा।
are institutional strengths and which can be matched with the industry requirements, again, in the three sectors, the students, the faculty members. We go through the lecture and you'll, it is fairly simple material, so I won't go too much into the details because we have lost a whole lot of time. And in terms of the faculty members and the overall system, there are institutional strengths and industry requirements, and industry strengths and institutional requirements. That is what I have tried to capture in these 6 slides. Please, can you please keep quiet? Otherwise, the program cannot go on. Now, I am comparing here industry and the institute and indicating that in some areas, the institutions are ahead of industry and vice versa. What are the areas in which industry is ahead? In management and safety, reliability, cost consciousness, standardization, and so on, and use of codes and standards. Whereas the institute is ahead in knowledge creation, knowledge transfer, rigor of study, communication skills, research, and publications. So we have 2 different sectors. We are not identical. We have individual strengths. We have individual requirements, but we are 2 different sets of organizations. Even in terms of perceptions, there are differences in the perceptions of university and industry. I'll quickly go through them. In terms of values, university, it is altruistic and scientific, whereas industry, it is business and profit, for example, is also a value. Activity, we are involved in generation and dissemination of knowledge and ideas, and industry is involved in application of this knowledge for economic gain. Please remember that in the university sector, profit is a bad word. We are not expected to make profit, and as I mentioned yesterday, it is the excess of income over expenditure, and it has to be invested in education. Whereas industry cannot survive if they do not make profit, if they do not have economic gain. Therefore, their activity is application of knowledge for economic gain. Our objective is excellence in academic activities, whereas industry, the objective is customer satisfaction, whoever the customer is, and the profit. It's not a bad word in industry. Role academic philosophy requires keeping up with theory. Corporate philosophy requires new design and manufacturing processes. Motivation for learning in university is knowledge. Industry, it is need-based. Learning as necessary, just-in-time acquisition of knowledge. Our horizon is long-term, whereas industry horizon is short-term. What are our outputs? Academic degrees, publications, and patents. Whereas in industry, it is cost-effective quality products and processes. We are keen to publish results expeditiously, but industry would like to keep the know-how secret. Our attitude is holier than thou. We are in an ivory tower. Their attitude is out here in the real world. This is important. Research development, according to Bloom's economy, has 3 sectors.
All these 4 games we'll play first. Later we'll see.
Why is it that when you organize these short-term programs, you don't advise the faculty members, the participants, to mute, keep their mics muted? Only one mic should be on. Why is it that they have not done?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
River crossing adana.
Hello, participants, kindly mute yourself.
River crossing.
Hello.
Yeah. 350.
Participants, kindly mute yourself. Hello. Sir, I'm extremely sorry, sir.
No, I'm also sorry. Okay, let's get back. This is an important difference.
The system like connecting the.
Students ಮಾತಲ್ವಾ
Sir,
ಹೇಳ್ದ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್
When this happened? We had good 2 days yesterday and the day before, but today
sir,
is Lot
Yeah,
of
sir. Yeah, today there is an issue with the online platform, sir. So I'm just
okay.
I'm just trying to set it out, sir.
Let me carry on because you have other sessions also happening, and if my session is not over, the others cannot start. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's an important difference. As far as our graduates are concerned, students are concerned, what we provide to them in the university sector is education. Whereas what industry provides essentially is training.
ಇವತ್ತು ಮಾತ್ರ ಆಯ್ತದ what are you doing ಅಂತ ಕಳ್ಸಿದಾನೆ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಮಾತ್ರ I'm not here, I've come to my friend's wedding ಅಂತ.
There is a big difference between education and training, and we are responsible for giving them the education. Apart from, we also have to provide them with training, lab instruction, and things like that. But industry, what happens there is essentially training. This is inputs in the psychomotor domain, whereas our inputs are in the cognitive and affective domains. Now, this is a classification, Bloom's taxonomy. These days, everybody knows about Bloom's taxonomy because it is utilized during the accreditation process when they check for the manner in which we teach and the manner in which we assess. These things become important. Now, in terms of R&D, let us compare university and industry. University R&D is essentially long-term. Industry R&D is essentially short-term. They also have a few long-term projects in which they seek the assistance of university. However, typically, their horizon is short-term. Where is R&D conducted in the university sector? It is carried out by postgraduate students under the guidance of faculty members, the objective being fulfilling degree requirements. Whereas in industry, it is carried out by professional personnel with the objective of satisfying customer needs. Maintaining continuity is more difficult in the university system. Once a graduate or a PhD scholar completes his PhD degree, it takes time before a new person is appointed and then he continues the project. Whereas in industry, the continuity is maintained in proportion to the industry goals. Output in university R&D is more in terms of research papers, and in industry, it is more in terms of products and processes. Our scope is more detailed and more deep, whereas their scope of solution is determined by the extent of need. Skip this. Interested people can go through it. Now, here is an interesting comparison, important comparison between what the academic community and what the industry perceives as the desirable characteristics of engineers. I'm referring it to the 21st century requirements, but the desirable characteristics, the nature of them is very different. You will see that this is, I will explain what is happening here. Faculty members and the academic community, we consider a strong foundation in basic sciences, mathematics, and engineering fundamentals, namely the STEM subjects as important. A capacity to apply these fundamentals to a variety of problems, not only the acquiring the knowledge, but also applying them to a range of applications or a range of problems. Knowledge and experience and experimental methods, all that Abert has pointed out as A to K competencies, knowledge and skills and fundamentals of engineering practice, and things like that. A few more, a unifying and interdisciplinary view, culture for lifelong learning. You remember that accreditation requirements also include these aspects. An advanced knowledge of selected professional level technologies, leadership capabilities, and a strong customer focus. Whereas, in terms of the industry professionals, this is what they consider to be the desirable characteristics of engineers. In fact, the ASME, the mechanical engineering body in the US, it has considered them to be so important that they have actually formalized it in terms of a 12-step guide for a successful engineering career. That is the ASME, the Industrial Advisory Board. Look at the difference between what they think is important and what we consider to be important. Sharpen your written and spoken communication skills. Everything we write or say is a product. Imagine an industry proposal is to be made, and the intermediate reviews and final review, they have to be presented to peers and they have to be accepted by peers. Therefore, communication skills, and you have to write reports in order to explain what you have done. Advertise yourself effectively. I'll leave a few of these things. Be persistent, aggressive, and passionate about your career, but learn to compromise. Realize, please, that in industry and even in academic research and development, you have trade-offs to make. Cost versus the time and the depth of knowledge that you have to exhibit. There is always a compromise, a trade-off. Now, to learn the fundamentals of accounting, marketing, and sales, industry needs practical visionaries. Understand the implication of tax laws and regulations. Study history more than once, it repeats itself. Therefore, you look at, when you do a literature survey, for instance, you follow through the evolution of the particular aspect of knowledge that is required or the products that you have to design and manufacture. Because most of the instruction in our country, in the Western countries, is in English, the advice here is speak to the rest of the world in words other than English. There is a lot of valuable literature available in other languages than English, namely, for instance, German or French or Russian or Japanese and so on. Therefore, if you have access to the literature in those languages, then it adds to your competence. Be aware of new and evolving technologies. Lifelong learning is very important, but every day technology is changing, and to a large extent, there are major changes which are taking place. There are whole generations of technologies which are replaced by new generations. Time management is very important. You have a limited amount of time, particularly for students, it's extremely important. There's a limited amount of time, 4 years, in which you have to understand, and you have to understand the applications of the knowledge that is given to you. But then the depth to which you can go depends upon the time that you spend on these things. Balance personal and career priorities. Industry, for instance, industry leaders like Narayan Murthy have been saying, know when to go home. Because if you stay in the industry all the time, then there's a monotony that sets in, and the innovation that you require to develop, it is lost. Be proud of your profession. You must instill in all your students the fact that being an engineer is a very proud thing to have. And so be proud as an engineer. In fact, the doctors, they prefix the term DR, doctor, in front of them with a person with an MBBS degree. And engineers have also started demanding that before our names, we should put ER as engineer, a proud thing to have. Of course, you have advanced degrees, including PhD, and you put a doctor there. The doctor is a result of expertise in specific fields, not medicine. Here I have a busy slide, and I look at the stakeholder relationships in the engineering education system. Who is a stakeholder? A person who has a stake in the success of go through the rest of the slides to make up for the lost time. Now here I have a busy slide which shows the stakeholder relationships in our engineering education system. Who is a stakeholder? Somebody who has a stake in the success of our operation, success of your process. That's what really it means. Now, student is the most important stakeholder in our system. Even the courts have said that the student success is the most important thing in the education system. And the value addition is that we convert a student into an engineering professional through the process of education and training. Yeah, another important set of stakeholders are the employees, namely the faculty members and the staff members. We give them livelihood and prosperity through career development and employment. Alumni are important. Industry is very important. There are many things that we provide for industry: manpower development, R&D, continuing education program, consultancy. Government is an important stakeholder, and society is another important stakeholder. For society, for instance, we offer social and economic development. So this is the set of stakeholder relationship you have to keep in mind, because all the stakeholders have requirements from you and you have to provide those requirements. Here is again a busy slide, as they say, different models of partnerships. The number of partners, there's be 2 or 3 or 4. It may be in national partner level of partnership, international level, and so on. And I have given different types that can happen and the important examples of what these things are. I will let us take one of them. The university, the government, and the R&D organizations, referring to the particular sector. For example, they are important in space, defense, and atomic energy. So these are different types of partnerships. Now, we want this partnership to be successful and we provide satisfaction to both the partners. In order to do that, there are some specific recommendations which have been given here. You must choose problems which satisfy the mission of both partners. If it only satisfies the mission of one partner, university or industry, then it will not lead to success. Both partners must derive benefit from the alliance, clear articulation of goals, communication, joint policy making, and so on. And the example that is given for a successful partnership is what in mathematics are called Borromean rings. There are 3 rings here: government, university, and the industry, and they must be tightly coupled. If one of the links is removed, all the rings will fall apart, all the links will fall apart. That is the meaning of this Borromean rings. So this is given often as an example of a successful partnership. Now, let me start looking at the reason why I have used the term symbiotic and synergistic. Symbiosis means each depends on the other. It is a term from biology. And synergy means that the addition of 2 partners or the contributions will add to the sum of the 2 factors. For example, 2 plus 2, let's say, is not only 4, but 22. That means to say there's an enhancement of the combined effect of the contributions of the 2 partners. So many workshops, many conferences have proved or have demonstrated that university and the industry are co-producers of engineering capabilities. One partner alone cannot provide all the inputs required for the success of the professional. Both of them have to come together and provide inputs. In the same line, there are several aspects which cannot be taught in the university, and they must be provided by the industry. It must generate and provide those skills and abilities which cannot be taught and learned in the university, particularly relating to market forces, particularly relating to financial success, economic success, and things like that. Universities should continuously monitor what industrial developments are taking place, and they should include them in their curriculum, and they must provide it to the students. That's the meaning of this term. There are many strategic relationships, strategic meaning long-term relationships. The 4 to our 5-year degree program that we have does not give a license to practice engineering profession for a lifetime. Technology is advancing much faster than what the university can perceive, and therefore they have to be brought into the main curriculum. Now, strategic relationships should be established between industry and the university that we are talking about. Initial education and continuing education. What is the difference between them? You have 4-year program that you give to the student, that is the initial education. And as more and more things are developed and invented and discovered, then they must be brought into courses, not only in the curriculum, but also in terms of continuing education. What you are conducting now as a workshop is to provide to the faculty members advanced concepts in pedagogy and teaching methodologies and so on. There must be a relationship between self-learning. Self-learning is becoming more and more important in the blended models that have come into practice because of the pandemic. Students must learn on their own, and they must also learn in the classroom and outside the classroom also as co-curricular activity, mentored learning. Individual learning and group learning. Teamwork is very important. Imagine if a problem is found out in the industry for solution, then it is only it's not a single person who is doing it. It is a team of people under the leadership of a competent person who work together in order to achieve the results. That's what it means. Hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills are the technology skills that we require, and soft skills are, I will mention it in a subsequent slide also, which are communication skills, for instance, and ability to present material that you have developed. And this is an important statement. Try to follow the logic. Engineering education is a multiple partner, multiple mode, multidisciplinary, multimedia, multi-setting, and multi-mode enterprise. So it is a combination of contributions from different places. Now, there are several barriers to industry-institute interaction. Why hasn't it become a mainstream activity of both the university and the industry? There are many barriers to that, and we have to overcome these barriers. I've indicated a set of these barriers. There are strategies for overcoming the barriers. Both the university and the industry must recognize that the industry-institute interaction is as important as the mainstream activity. That's what it means. When we come together, it is called collaboration. The rationale for collaboration is highlighted by the statement by Henry Ford, who first introduced the concept of mass production in the production of automobiles. Coming together, meeting together is a beginning. Keeping together, continuing to keep together is progress, and working together is success. There are many tools and means for tackling problems that can be classified as scientific, technological, etc. And the individual things are becoming more and more sophisticated because of the advancements in management and technology. What we need are multidisciplinary approaches, which the new education policy has stressed, integrated and holistic thinking, and so on. Let us take a look at a typical collaboration, what I call the anatomy of collaboration. As we have seen, it's also called partnership, linkages, co-sponsorship, and so on. A study has shown that there are 5 criteria for a relationship to be characterized as collaboration. Just having a joint meeting is not enough. You have to jointly design and monitor them. Some autonomy is sacrificed by both the partners. Resources are contributed, organizations are mutually benefited, and so on. So there are some preconditions or prerequisites for collaboration to be made successful. Benefits of collaboration: information, ideas, and resources can be pooled. Duplication and harmful competition can be avoided. We are not industry and university, we are not competitors, we are collaborators. Again, the reason for some of the barriers or inhibitors to collaboration I have indicated here. They're fairly straightforward. We will go on to some more advanced concepts. Now, how do you promote a collaboration? Ask yourself the question, who is a single point contact for industry to come to you, the university, in order to seek collaboration? It is not really the principal or the director. You identify a person, a responsible person, in order to be a contact person. Industry, who is the first person they need to contact in order to come to collaborate with you? He is the Dean of Industrial Consultancy and Sponsored Research. Similarly, from the industry side, there will be a person who will be responsible for university relations. And these two people lead the initiatives for bringing together persons, for identifying what your strengths are, where you can make contributions, and you have to meet and you have to do a lot of things together. So you have to identify these committed individuals. They are called champions. Champion from your side is the dean, and the champion there is the person responsible for university relations. And there's a lot of things that have to go together. And there are many successful, productive collaborations. Let me give it an example. The IIT system, the industry collaboration and sponsored research and consultancy is considered to be an extremely important activity. Not only do they have a separate dean and a whole organizational structure under him, but typically the budgetary requirement or the budgetary, what you make out of sponsored research is about 35% or 40% of the overall budget of the institute. So you realize how important it is, what kind of an important input it gives to the university resources. So 40% is a large amount of money. So if the overall budget is 100 crores, 40 crores comes from association with industry and the funds that are allotted for joint projects. So it is it's almost a mainstream activity. Teaching and research are important. In addition, sponsored research and consultancy are equally important. So you should not be setting low bars or low goals. If your budget is 100%, then imagine that 1/3 of this budget has to come from sponsored research and the consultancy. There is a mistaken feeling that private institutions do not have opportunities for the sponsored research and consultancy. That is not true. If you provide enough resources and if you commit yourself to the a specific goal or a target. I know of many engineering colleges in the private sector. They may be assisted by government. However, private sector colleges, I have seen that they have major inputs of resource from DST and other agencies which provide funding. They have a specific commitment to help the private sector also, particularly defense, particularly space. They have a commitment to help the private sector engineering colleges to succeed in sponsored research and consultancy. Therefore, it is not, it's a wrong impression to think, oh, we are in the private sector, therefore we will not be provided for funds. If you have the talents, if you have the time, if you have the faculty competence, then you will get the resources. So it is a positive feature that I want to point out to you. But I am talking about this, there are two other points I want to make. One is I'm on the board of an institution where the dean was making a presentation, and it was a lady, and she said, well, we are trying to develop certain things in medicine, pharmacy, and so on. And once we have developed this process or product, then we will approach industry for assistance in commercializing it and so on. It's a wrong concept. From the beginning, from the definition of the problem, from the putting together a set of people and getting some equipment in order to do the research and so on, from the beginning, the two partners must work together. Not that the academic institution should develop the technology and then go to industry for support. That's a wrong concept. From the beginning, to work together. Another point I want to make here is, when I was the chairman of AICTE, we conducted 4 regional workshops involving industrial sector. At that time, we chose the CII, the Confederation of Indian Industry, because they bring together a large number of industries in different areas, and the educational institutions in that particular region, north, south, east, and west. And we made one condition, both from the industry side and our side, in organizing these conferences. Industry, for instance, will not ask what the university system should bring to this collaboration. Similarly, the educational sector should not ask what industry should bring to the table. Each will say, or each will commit, that this is what we are bringing to the table from our side. So typically, I have seen that educational institutions, whenever they think about industry, they say, oh, they have to provide for placement for our graduates, they have to provide for funds for our research and so on. What are you bringing to the table to demand this dowry, for instance? So you look at what contribution you can make, what the others should bring to the table. If you have that in your mind, then you succeed in your collaboration. Here are some features of productive collaborations. There are institutional factors which have been identified. These are studies in management. Trust and commitment are extremely important. whenever you go for collaboration, these two words keep in mind. Trust. You trust your partner and you commit that you will be bringing in so much of inputs and resources to this collaboration. There's a structure which can be established. You look at successful collaborations and you learn from the structures that they have adopted. All major industries in India, for instance, they have an important commitment to collaborate with educational institutions. And there are personal, individual factors of the leaders of collaboration, the dean and the principal or the director, and so on. Here is a whole lot of features of a productive thing. The interface individuals are extremely important. In the university, it is the dean, and in the industry, they have a university relations manager. And there are some strategies which can be identified. I will skip them. And another important point is don't rely heavily on one collaboration. Let us say the automobile sector or the electronic sector. Have a multiple set of collaborators, because if you fail in one, and you should be able to commit your resources to another collaboration. So just like benchmarks, you must have more than one, many more than one collaborators to work with you. Similarly, the industry will also be looking at more than one university to collaborate with. There are major difficulties. Essentially, our focus is on broad-based education. I looked at the desirable features from the university side and from the profession. And we focus on broad-based education, whereas they look at specialization and typical practical job-relevant knowledge. Therefore, you have to balance these two, our strengths and the requirements of industry and their strengths and our requirements. Now, there is a whole set of steps you have to go through in order to build up a successful university-industry collaboration. Each of them has been, I've given here some recommendations. You must make collaboration with industry a strategic and core activity of university, and similarly, industry must make collaboration with university an important activity. And you have to commit resources. For example, you may have to travel to an industry far away from where you are, or even close by, and there must be resources provided for travel, provided for holding meetings, organizing meetings. So it is not a resource-intensive sector, but it requires resources. This must be identified, and you should not grudge the expenditure that is required. So how do you go about doing that? Identify group leaders, give them individual responsibilities, formalize the agreement through a written document with legal implications. And this must be released jointly by the president of the company or the vice president of the company and the principal or director of your institution, so that it is given enough importance. You want to succeed in that activity. That is why you should do that. And when you select proposals for funding, look also at the implementability of the proposal. Like the National Education Policy has made several recommendations, and the implementability is very important. Otherwise, the purpose of your proposing the policy, it's no meaning whatsoever. And the new budget, as I pointed out the other day, has provided for opportunities for implementation. Similarly, even in your industry-university collaboration, there must be implementable proposals. If they cannot be implemented, it has no meaning in suggesting or proposing them. And implement the collaboration activities by several means. And finally, evaluate the collaboration activities. If you are dealing with industry for whom the financial implications are important, you should look not only at the technical performance, but also at the financial performance. Here is a detailed analysis of the different types of partners for collaboration and the value addition that it brings to the collaboration. You will collaborate with other universities within the country, other university international. This is a generalized discussion, not only industry, but also I'm looking at any other partners for collaboration. If it is industry or business, what is the value addition, the feedback and inputs for the curriculum, the technology and business solutions, and a whole lot of them. There are more partners and value addition. Government departments and agencies are possible partners. Public and private R&D labs are possible partners. And value addition, I've indicated there. Our engineering education is an enterprise with many players. You have your college and you have the university with whom you are affiliated, the state government, the AICT and the NBA, industry and other employees. There are several avenues and channels of interaction and feedback. You should identify the possible partners and make sure that you do the right thing in achieving success. The nomenclature is very rich in these interactions and collaborations. You call them industry institute interaction, university industry interaction, partnership, symbiosis, synergy, and interface. And there are different modes and models. It's called networking, it is a partnership, consortium. If you're dealing with an international institution and there are possibilities of twinning, awarding of joint degrees or combined degrees, and all of them have to be considered as opportunity for providing success. And the motivation is, of course, sharing of scarce resources of labs, library resources. Your college is situated in an official area, so it might be useful for you to collaborate with an institution in Hyderabad or Visakhapatnam, more metropolitan-oriented location, so that you can make use of the advantages of metro or urban situation. Then I give some examples of successful collaboration so that you realize that there are people who have achieved success through these collaborations. The QIP, the Quality Improvement Program, and FIP, the Faculty Improvement Program for non-engineering subjects, they are successful. One of the most highly successful activities of Ministry of HRD, or now it's called Ministry of Education. Quality Improvement Program is a collaboration between a fledgling institution, a new institution where all the faculty members do not have a PhD, and an institution in which all the faculty members are PhDs, typically an NIT or an IIT. It is a successful collaboration. Winning programs from, I given some examples of some years ago, but now there's a whole lot of these programs. Manipal and USA is one of the first. Malaysia and Australia again with the beginning of twinning programs. So two organizations coming together to achieve common results. In the IIT system, different IITs have had in the original scheme of things, collaboration with a particular country and the universities in that country. IIT Madras, we had a collaboration starting with German universities and German industry, and subsequently, of course, we have with many other countries. There was a very fruitful set of collaborations between the IITs and the then RECs in the initial stages, but now it has become almost a regular feature. And there are international collaboration projects in terms of R&D, in terms of exchange of faculty, students, and so on. There are many different types of activities. One is the joint degree programs where a candidate or a student who fulfills credit requirements of two institutions, where the transfer of credits is possible. There may be a joint degree or maybe individually different degrees, combined degrees. Conferences and workshops, sharing of best practices, and a whole lot of things. Let me complete quickly so that I provide some opportunities for discussion. Again, there are barriers, and these barriers have to be overcome with careful and wise strategies. There's also another set of collaborations for NRI Institute with R&D labs in your region and outside your region, the national labs and so on. Here I've analyzed what the R&D labs have and what the institutions need from them. in a complementary fashion what institutes have and the R&D labs require. One of the important things is the possibility of external registration programs, whereby the scientists who are working on R&D problems, they have an opportunity to register for it. They cannot offer degrees, so they have to collaborate with the university system to do joint research in order to provide for degree, the possibility of degrees. It's called external registration. Now here is a cute example of what it requires to succeed in a partnership. So partnership works out when there is common purpose and pursuit. The two partners, the university and industry, we want benefits, financial benefits, research and development benefits, and so on. If we fight with each other, we will miss out on opportunities to derive these benefits. But we sit together, think, enlightenment comes in, and we combine with each other, collaborate with each other, then we can achieve results from both these piles. This is a cartoon from a design studio. So think of collaboration in terms of this cartoon, and you realize that we have to work together if you want to achieve positive results. Let me conclude now. Let me try to justify again the title I have given for this talk. It is a symbiotic relationship because we need each other. It's not a question of us recognizing the existence of each other, but we need each other and we recognize that. And there is a lot to be gained through the relationship. As I pointed out, the example is 1 + 1 is not 2, but 1 + 1 should be made into 11. And both the university and the industry must consider this collaboration to be a mainstream activity by both partners. If you do that, then you will commit resources, you will commit attention, you will commit talents, you will commit faculty members in order to enhance the results from this collaboration. So let me conclude by pointing out that what I have tried to give to you is, as an institute, as a faculty member, as a head of the department, if you want to have sets of activities which can multiply the talents that you have, the resources that you have, you need external partners. And the partner that we have looked at in some detail is industry. There are many good things can happen if you devote attention to this aspect of the university activity. So let me close here, and if there is any discussion or questions, I'll be happy to participate. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So let me request the participants to put their questions. Hello. Hello, dear participants. So kindly put your questions to our Professor Natarajan, sir.
Do you have a dean of sponsored research?
Sir.
Do you have a dean of sponsored research in your institute?
No, sir, not yet, sir.
I believe it is important to have one. And do you have a large number of sponsored projects from government agencies, from companies, and so on?
Sir, we have 5 projects right now going on.
Who was the sponsoring agencies?
So AICT and DST, sir. Two.
AICT is in the same sector of education, technical education, but DST is a good thing to have. Do you have any FISP projects? FISP project, which is a large value project, typically 2 to 3 crores?
No,
No.
sir. No, sir.
Okay. There are opportunities for you to propose and succeed in this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, good morning. This is Professor G. Kumar from BIT Sindri, the state government institution.
Yes.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes. Yes.
I am senior professor in the rank of professor for the last 21 years. Sir, my
Good.
submission, general submission is that, of course, your lecture has been very inspiring and very good with lot of informations, inputs. But the fact is that, sir, we have in our country 3 tier of technical education system. At one hand, IITs are there with lot of autonomy. Then NITs are there with little less autonomy, but of course, lot of autonomy. And then the state government institutions and private institutions. By and large, if you see the number of the private institutions are many more, and they are
Yes.
affiliated under the university. They don't
Yes.
have any autonomy at all. If there is little bit only. Say only say you can say 10% in the curriculum structure, in other structures, and most of them are confined to the undergraduate teaching. So far, this is concerned, industry institute interaction is concerned. I'm afraid they are only busy in the academic activities and they have not the time or a fund or the liberty to interact with the industries. So that is happening everywhere. So the, my humble submission is that at least government should think on this line. And moreover, sir,
Please go on.
whenever the policies are framed, we senior people are neglected, either from AICTE,
Yeah.
IST,
Breaking.
or any
Yeah.
other agency. So, sir, 21 is years in the rank of the professor. I have lot of experience with me, but I don't find any platform to share. Rather, I say that tracer studies. See, the students will not listen to you, not that they will listen to the director of principal of the institution. They will listen to the seniors who have passed out from the institution and 3 to 5 years senior to them. And if they are working in the industry somewhere, so there should be some norms from the AICT or the government of India that those seniors should come to their alma mater and share their experiences with the juniors, and that should be included in their career advancement in their respective industry. This is my submission. This way you can take the help of the seniors in the institutions, otherwise there is no way out.
Your
Thank
suggestion,
you, sir.
your suggestion and your motivation are extremely good, and I appreciate them. Let me point out that the BIT MESRA, which I believe is not too far from where you are, it has a very active industrial consultancy sponsor research division, and they have not only resources committed, but also resources generated as a result of interaction. I would, responding to your point, important point that you have made, I believe that the initiative really must come from the university sector, because the industry is quite busy, contributing to industrial and economic development. And we are looking at education in a comprehensive fashion, where working for the success of industry and business is also one of our important responsibilities. The new education policy has said that within about 15 years, 15 years, all the institutions will be made autonomous, comprehensive institutions. There will not be any affiliated colleges at all. Therefore, the difficulty that you are facing, it will be removed. It will take some time. But the initiative, if you take from the university side, I believe more success can be achieved. Thank you for your comment. please invite industry professionals, particularly those who have achieved success from the information technology sector, from the automobile sector, from the manufacturing sector. Invite them to your institution to address the students, and in that way you can make contact with them for further collaboration. You must give them importance, you must provide them opportunities to come and assist you. It is about 11:25. May I suggest to Professor Sambasivarao that you can start your next session on time, and I hope we will not have the glitches that I have had. And I thank you for the opportunity that you have given to me to address your faculty members. All the lectures that I have delivered, I am making them available to Professor Sambasivarao for distribution to the participants. And as I mentioned earlier, please send those presentations only to those faculty members, participants who are really interested. It is not just for filing in your, files, saving them in your files, but then you should make use of it and you should get benefit from it. So this is my request, and I will be sending this presentation also to you. So let me thank you and wish all success to the rest of your workshop. Thank you, Professor Sambasivarao.
Thank you, Professor Natarajan, sir. So thank you very much. Despite having a lot of troubles today, so you have exhibited your patience and extended your cooperation, sir. So we are extremely sorry from our side, sir. As my system has a lot of active virus, it has created a lot of problem from my side, sir. So I'm sorry, sir.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for your time and effort for us. And thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So we will not forget your valuable lectures, sir. So these lectures, they are actually asked by all the faculty members of NRI institution. So I will take a chance to present all your lectures before our faculty, sir.
Thank you.